Kim, you know that song, obviously it's Eminem, right?
Yeah,
and forever, I'm
yes.
like, I love this song, but why the hell, why? It doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, yeah, Eminem, Moose and Maggie, I get it. Anyway, Salicata, Kim Jones, it took me forever to understand why they were playing that.
I never thought of it, and
Yeah.
I guess you're right.
Right, me neither, until it then hit me one day, and I was like, oh, right, now I get it. All right, anyway.
Genius of Paul Arzuman.
Yeah, Paul Arzuman. There you go. I respect that. I know Moose is an Eminem fan. I don't really know Maggie well enough to know what her music style is. And then when I did the show with her, I talked about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, it finally hit me why you guys are playing that.
There you go.
Anyway, so, hey, how about
Another
those
mystery of the world.
How about those Yankees, Kim? I mean, what a game by Anthony Rizzo at first base with the defense, driving in a couple of runs. And it was a big game for all. Andrew Heaney, who were ripping, he had a big game.
He was excellent.
Britton did his job. Chapman looked a little shaky, obviously. So
How about my guy Andrew at shortstop?
Yeah, Velasquez, a big game for him. You love that story.
I love that story. He was outstanding yesterday. I mean, really, really outstanding.
You know who else was outstanding?
What a great story.
Luke. Oh, no, wait. Luke Voit didn't play. He didn't get on the field yesterday. No, but anyway, look, the Yankees leapfrogged the Red Sox. They swept them. I just told you that this momentum that they have, you can feel it going into this series. You saw it play out. There were some thrilling games with the Red Sox. But once the Yankees swept that doubleheader, even with Heaney going last night, you figured it would be an offensive battle. And Heaney did his job, shockingly so. So who knows? But they handled the Red Sox with relative ease last night at the stadium, Kim. This team right now is clearly on the right track, leaping the Red Sox. They're in a playoff position.
What the Yankees have done is remarkable. And I know they have the resources to do it, but it's still remarkable. The last time we saw the Yankees and Red Sox at Fenway, the Yankees were a mess, an absolute mess. They have now turned all of that completely around. They have essentially erased all of that, Sal. And they are clearly a surging team. I think the only question is, will they and can they overtake Tampa?
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about a team getting a boost at the deadline, which the Red Sox clearly did not, and the players seem to have taken that personally, and you talk about adding parts that are really useful for the Yankees in Rizzo and Gallo, you're talking about Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman and company somehow doing the impossible, convincing Giancarlo Stanton that he's not going to have to walk on broken glass if he plays the outfield. And somehow he is now a willing participant. I would love to know how that happened. Would love to know how that happened.
I'm sure they would just, hey, look, big boy, you got to get out there and make yourself useful for a change.
Yeah, I don't know that would be the approach. I honestly don't. I'm not saying it wouldn't. I just don't know. But I would love to know. And then last night to see Anthony Rizzo, a guy that they at least suggested they might have to bring along slowly after COVID and some of those carryover effects, including fatigue and everything else. I think they were darn happy that he was in there at the end of that game. He made a great play to end that game, and he was very useful last night. He contributed all the way around last night, and you see now the excitement over Rizzo that was interrupted by COVID is now, I think, going to be at the forefront of Yankee fans' minds, as it should be. He's absolutely terrific, and we knew that.
Couple of different things. We always talk about the Yankees and that trade, right? So from the trade aspect, remember, and you just brought up the point, I think it's an excellent one, that at the deadline or prior to the deadline, the weeks and days leading up to it, Rizzo, the rumors with him were that he'd be going to the Red Sox. And you saw bad defense from Dahlback.
Yes.
I mean, that could be the difference in that game last night
100%.
specifically. So he was supposed to go to the Red Sox. Not only did he not go there, and at the time maybe we weren't thinking about it because the Red Sox seemed like they were so far gone. The Yankees got him out of nowhere, stole him from Boston. They end up with Schwarber nowhere near. I mean, offensively he could be a force, we know, but nowhere near the player Rizzo is. So the impact that he has. And then the Yankees just overall, Kim, everybody has talked about the lefties in the lineup with Gallo and Rizzo, and I understand that and the different energy. Well, how about the defense that this team has been playing? We know the speed. We've watched them now playing a little bit more small ball and stealing bases, which is great to watch. They're actually playing baseball for a change.
100%.
But they have upgraded defensively as well. You look, there are really no weak spots defensively for the Yankees, even with backups like Vasquez at shortstop.
No, there are no weak spots. I agree 100%. In fact, Vasquez has played about as well.
He's better than Torres
as
defensively.
We've seen a shortstop play this year, right?
Right.
As well as not better, and we're not subbing him out because we know that the kid's gonna and he's not a kid, isn't he? Like 28.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
been around everywhere.
He's been
yeah.
around, and good for him.
Well,
It's
kid to
just-
me
it's
is
just
28.
I understand that part of it.
I'm an old
but
man
I
now.
call them all kids, and then I know that that's really not. I
Right,
don't ever
right.
mean it to be disrespectful.
Sure.
They're just so young, you know.
Right.
But he's just been fantastic, and I am a believer, especially in a long baseball season. And listen, NFL seasons can get long as well. We've seen that up close and personal around here lately. But in a baseball season, you need healthy diversions, and Vasquez has absolutely provided that. He has provided even the crustiest MLB player who's used to the grind and knows what August feels like and everything else can smile watching that young man play baseball and make really, really good plays. Odor, I think it was Paul last night on the broadcast mentioned, and I thought it was a really good point. If Odor fields that ball, because of his positioning, I'm not sure they get the out at first.
Right.
Vasquez delivers the throw to first, and they do get him. But I think that play could have played out so differently because Odor dove. He dove for the ball. He just didn't get it.
Odor's been another guy that kind of gets overlooked. And at the time where the Yankees acquired him, it was, why are they getting him? What do they need him for? And he's been impactful here for the Yankees. But the defense in particular, and I know we mentioned Vasquez because he had a great day, and you're right, it's a story. He's had a great series. It's a story that anybody can get behind and feel good for. Even, as you said, the experienced veterans who are making a ton of money, they kind of live through him again. How great is this for this kid who grew up a Yankee fan to get a shot and actually be impactful in their biggest series of the year against the Red Sox? But, I mean, when was the last time you saw a Yankee first baseman, with all due respect, Mr. Luke Voit, regularly use that footwork and the way he's able to scoop a ball, the way that Rizzo's, he's not just an average first baseman. He is a above average defensive first baseman. That is a huge difference. Gallo and left. Even with Stanton has not been awful in the limited time he's been out there. I think he's serviceable in one of the corners if you have Judge in center and Gallo on left. Their defense has been significantly upgraded at the deadline, as well as the lineup with those two lefty bats with Rizzo and Gallo. So that part of the trade should not go overlooked. And the Yankees are a completely different team. This is not the same team that Boston dominated to date in the regular season prior to this 3-game series. They're a different ball club, and they showed Boston they're the better ball club. I'm not saying Boston's some weak team, but the Yankees are a better ball club to date right now than the Boston Red Sox. And not just because they called them in the standings, they're a better ball club.
I thought the same thing in watching the game last night. I thought that. The Yankees are the better team on the field. And last night, in some ways, it didn't seem particularly close. It wasn't some incredible blowout or anything. But
typical Yankee
just when
win.
you watched them perform last night, I thought the difference here is stark. And it was particularly stark for me, if you remember back, like I said earlier, to that series in Boston, where they kicked the ball around all over themselves and they had
really
wild
should have
pitches
won
all
more
over
there.
the place. Right. And they were their own worst enemy. Last night they played a really, really entertaining and good baseball game. And, I think I've learned lately, especially with the help of some folks, one folk in particular at Barstool, Luke Voit is very popular among the Yankee fan base, and good for them. You're allowed to like whoever you want to like. You can root for your team. I certainly expect all of that, but there's it's not, anyone in this studio's fault that the Yankees tried to trade Luke Voit at the trade deadline. They couldn't get it done, but after getting Rizzo, they recognized they didn't have that need anymore. That's not made up. That actually happened. They just couldn't find a partner and a deal that they were willing to take there. So, that's reality right now. Rizzo is your first baseman every single day, maybe not, but certainly most days.
Yeah, and they'll get Voit. And look, we talked about it yesterday. I don't know why everybody's so sensitive to it.
Very sensitive about Luke Voit. It's
oh my
very
God,
odd.
get over yourself,
Very
really,
odd.
little fanboys.
And very,
oh my God.
And listen, I've taken criticism forever. I've mentioned that. Very, very mean-spirited. Just very
I couldn't even care
People
less
are
with it.
nuts.
Yeah, I couldn't even care less. But the point is, we were talking about Voit has been an impactful player with the Yankees. He's nowhere near as good as Anthony Rizzo. I mean, that's
he
a fact.
gets hurt a lot. He gets hurt a lot, and he's a little bit streaky.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I think
and yesterday,
in Rizzo, I think you have a more you just have a more established, competent baseball player and first baseman.
now,
in
if
Rizzo.
the Yankees didn't have Stanton, then we would be saying, well, Voit should be the DH, and he might be
course.
anyway. We also said that he might be the DH anyway. But you can't argue that Voit in the clutch last year, in particular in the postseason, after having a great regular season, he was disappointing. I mean, he was one of the biggest reasons why the Yankees failed in the playoffs because of his offense. And also, don't shoot the messenger. Luke Voit got in trouble with his own team for his comments.
Yeah,
He
was in Aaron Boone's office yesterday, and did he play in the game?
Right.
He did not.
No, that was a great comment from Luke Voit. Okay, whatever. I don't even have any problem with what he was thinking. It's the fact that he said it, and when he said it publicly, you can say that. You can go talk to the manager.
Right.
That's fine. Forget about with these little
know.
fanboys.
I
It's
know.
so insignificant. It really doesn't even matter. But the point is, the Yankees upgraded the first base with
Yes.
Anthony Rizzo, and now
Yes,
they've
they
won.
did.
Also yesterday, the big story was the Steve Cohen tweet. You saw the Mets actually get a win.
Wow.
Grand scheme of things, I still deem it irrelevant. I don't know about how you think.
No, I actually thought really relevant because I thought their season was going to end yesterday if they did not win that game. VR, takes that ball down the left field line. And on further review, I wasn't as sure as everyone else, which makes me probably wrong, that it didn't clip a little bit of white. Clip just the tiniest bit of white because you did not have that exact camera angle that would have shown it. Obviously, they reversed it, and I thought they are now going to lose this game.
All right.
And I thought they were still going to lose it a couple times. And, talk about great stories. It's Kevin Pillar who comes through with the enormous home run. And I stayed for the Boone Zoom last night, but not the players. By that point, I was turning in. But I stayed for the Zoom because the Mets were in the afternoon. And I thought that they handled the Steve Cohen questions about as well as they could. Listen, he is the owner. He has high expectations and he wants to win. For the most part, that's what all the players think, too. They have high expectations. They want to win, and they hate losing. So for the most part, that is true. So they're basically all on the same page. The difference was the owner called them out.
It was nice to see them respond and get a win. I don't think that one had to do with the other, although they were aware, clearly.
They said it. They did,
Yeah.
though. They said Pillar said they went out with a different degree of preparation. And I'll find.
Well,
in my
if that's
notes
the case, that's
other
pathetic.
Well,
because
I think it is too,
yeah.
but I think it did make a difference.
And Rojas even saying, "Oh, well, it did bring a different awareness."
Yes.
Awareness. Well, what do you guys don't know? And that's what we've kind of been talking about. They don't know how bad they really are. They think, "Oh, first place team will be fine." Don't believe. No. Okay, we watch. We know what we're seeing. You're not that good. So this tweet brought more awareness. Oh, wow, the Mets have awoken here all of a sudden.
Pillar said more attention to detail after the tweet and emphasized preparation. We maybe overmet some expectations early in the year, he also said, which I do think is interesting. They got off to such a hot start.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of thought this might end up being easy for the Mets. And
Right.
maybe the Mets thought this might kind of be a we got this situation, and it just isn't.
100%.
So
But
a big wake-up call from that text or tweet from the owner.
But we all knew that. Anybody who watched this
when
team.
they're in it, I think they get caught up.
But that's the problem with the manager. And then we talk about, and I like Rojas. I think he's a nice guy, a young guy who's had to deal with a lot of different things. That's the problem with the manager. This should not be the owner's tweet that gets his ball club to realize, hey, we're not that good. We need to be a little more self-aware, maybe do a little more due diligence or whatever preparation they need to do. The manager should be saying early on, instead of we're in first place, we got this, thinking that they're better than they are, this division things, he should be saying, guys, you're not that good. I'm watching you. You stink, as a matter of fact. To get to where we need to be, a championship-level ball club, a playoff-caliber ball club, you need to be better. This is what needs to be done. And they don't have that, apparently, with Rojas. So the fact that it comes from an owner's tweet, that means to me that they need to be maybe make some changes here moving forward.
I'm not sure how many. You're not going to, generally speaking, you're not going to get that hard-edged public manager. Now, does he chew guys out behind the scenes?
Why is it okay for an owner, though, and not the manager?
Because anything's okay for the owner.
Right, but if the owner wants
team.
that, wouldn't you want an owner who has the same, hey, look, this is what you should be doing here, or this is what I want? It's okay to get on these guys a little bit?
And he very well might instill some of that when the season ends. I mean, I think this is very much a getting his feet wet in baseball moment for Steve Cohen.
Sure.
I know he had a small part of the Mets before, but I mean, this is his first go round as a manager, as a owner, and maybe he is learning about the idea that his expectations need to be met on a daily basis. And by the way, these are my expectations. Signed, Steve Cohen. I mean, I do think there's a possibility of that.
Because I do feel, and we kind of talked about it yesterday a little bit, I do feel like Rojas at times, and I get it, he's a young manager trying to keep his job. He went through the pandemic. He went through an owner change, a whole regime change. So he's not trying to ruffle any feathers. And it's a tough, road to navigate where you want to be yourself, but you also don't want to do something that maybe somebody's not going to like. You're trying to get a feel for. And there was a point when the Mets were in first place and playing well where I started to see a little more confidence in Luis Rojas. But maybe then they should get somebody that is 100% confident in themselves regardless of the situation. This is how I got to do it. This is what I know it takes to get this ball club to win, and then go do it. Because Rojas at times, it feels like at times he's trying to protect the player and worry about their fragile psyche and not want to upset them and not want to ruffle any feathers like Zach Scott's comments did, like clearly the tweet did from Steve Cohen. I want to see that from a manager. I know their jobs are different. They apply the data. They make sure the players are happy and all that. But I'd like to see that from the manager of the ball club. We wouldn't have to get to a point where the owner's tweeting.
Well, and that's all fair. I just don't know that you're going to see, I don't know how much Joe Girardi is still exactly the Joe Girardi who managed the Yankees. I don't know that. I don't know that. Now, he still has fire in him, I'm sure. But, I wouldn't know how he's exactly handling that team in Philadelphia. But I understand what you're saying. I do. I do think I like Rojas because I do think he gives you a little something on Zoom. I think you leave Zoom with him having some answers. They're not always the answer. They're sometimes the answers that make you scratch your head because of what you just said. Like, well, then why not do that before you get to a crisis point, before you get to a point where the division truly has slipped away now and you've got to play catch up to more than one team? There's a lot of that. I do. I think there's a lot of that. And I tend to think that ultimately comes down to confidence. And I think that while the Mets have some confident players and some big players, Alonso probably at the forefront, I do think it's a group that is still finding its way at that level. I don't think Jeff McNeil comes across as overly confident. I think that Michael Conforto has clearly lost some confidence during a season that's been in many ways a lost season for Conforto. And that list goes on and on. We could talk on and on about that list of players who have underachieved this year.
And either way, the Mets actually get a win, which it feels like it's an impossibility, doesn't it? You're watching these games, and they deserve credit. Conforto contributed, McNeil, Pilar obviously with the big home run, Edwin Diaz did a terrific job.
Diaz did a good job. Familia makes you a little queasy.
Yeah, I know. And you expect that with the runner on second. McGill, again, Tyler McGill has been a great find for the Mets. So they get a much-needed win, which felt like an impossibility. They actually beat the San Francisco Giants. And the Yankees, of course, sweeping the Red Sox. Your calls on both the Yankees and the Mets. We'll do plenty of football today, Kim. I know we'll have a couple of guests on as well. Do a little Giants, little Jets as we get set for the weekend. 877-337-6666. Salicata Kim Jones.